Welcome to In the Spotlight. I'm Shirley Lin. Now today I'm in a very special place. It's a big squarish room, huge. This is actually part of it's an Air Force base, yes. And but this is turned into a very artsy, a place where you can gather a lot of people. It's just totally spacious. And you can imagine, once every month, you've got tons of people here just hearing everybody sharing their stories or hear their singing or performing or whatever. We'll learn more about that later. But please meet my guest. She is the director of the Red Room, and she is Roma Mehta. Hi, Roma.
Hi, thank you for the welcome.
You're most welcome. Yeah, I'm so glad that I can be here and to meet you in person. But Roma is from Calcutta, India, and she has been in Taiwan for 28 years. So I'm sure there's some special reason why she's here in Taiwan. But let's, Roma, what was your childhood like? I mean,
Growing up in the street, well, not on the streets literally, but growing up in Calcutta, it's a very, very crowded city, buzzing with life, and you can pretty much see every spectrum of life in front of you all the time. There's no escape, from the beggar on the street to the filth to very, very fancy stuff and big mansions, and the whole spectrum is available. So there was a lot of visual sort of constantly there's a lot of visual input and noise.
So do you find any similarity between Taipei and Calcutta?
Originally, when I came here, I felt that I was back in Calcutta, because I think even the Bengali people where Calcutta is in West Bengal, so the people who come from there are called Bengalis. Their habits are quite similar to the Taiwanese in some ways, so I kind of felt a little bit of similarity there. But this was many years ago, when I think it was just after martial law was lifted. So Taiwan was a very different place then.
That is true. Yeah, you've been back here longer than I have. I've only been back 24 years.
Sure. So I've seen it develop and grow and become this amazing city that we live in now. In fact, the whole country. But it's come a long way from that time, and it's been a very rapid progression to see all those changes happen. It's been quite phenomenal. It's such a livable city now. It has been for a while, and I just enjoy it, and people are nice. I think that makes a huge difference in any place. No matter how beautiful a place is, if the people are not friendly, it's not welcoming. So I find that in Taiwan, anywhere you go, people are just extremely out of the way, friendly and very helpful and polite. And so it makes it very livable and lovable.
Oh, that is great. Well, we hear this a lot
Yes.
from foreigners that have lived here in Taiwan, or maybe didn't originally plan to live here, but then stayed on. So,
Well, that's pretty much what happened to us.
really? Yeah, I just got to jump right in. I just don't know what brought you to Taiwan.
Nothing.
Nothing?
Didn't come here as on design or by design.
So you were originally as a tourist?
No, not even that. We were living in Dubai, my husband and my daughter, who was then 2, and the three of us landed up here in transit on the way to Korea. We were supposed to go settle there.
Oh, okay. Because of your husband's business?
His job.
His job.
So we were in Dubai for about 5 years, and then he got this opportunity in Korea, so we were flying and we were transiting here because the same company had an office here. So they said, well, while your visa is being worked out, just come and hang out for a week and get to know the office.
How nice.
That was it. We never left.
Wait a minute, you didn't even make it to Korea?
No.
Serious?
Seriously.
Now, I've heard similar stories, but
Yeah.
yours is the most radical. But seriously? Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys just packed up and just left Dubai because you thought that you were going to move to Korea because of your husband's job.
Correct.
But then you end up staying here in
because
transit.
they needed him here instead, they found, so we just stayed on.
All right. right.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been 28 years.
Pretty much, yeah. It was 87 December when we came. So.
Okay. So then, well, what did that mean about life to you? Were you working then too, or it's just a housewife?
Yes,
or?
I was actually. I was working in
You were working, okay.
I used to work at an ad agency in Dubai, so I came here and found a job with an ad agency here. A really nice woman boss, and we got along really well, so it was fun. She spoke enough English for me to be able to work here with her.
Oh, wonderful.
So yeah, I worked with her for almost 5 years, and then I started my own company.
Oh, in also advertisement?
It's more print and design.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, graphic design and print.
I
So we
see.
don't really go into the media stuff.
And then while with your husband and you working, what did you do with your daughter, 2-year-old daughter?
Well, she went to a Chinese bilingual school during the days, so it was great. She loved it. She was really happy. It was a great place. So I kind of work, till 4 and picked her up, but then it was fine. When he was born here, when Manav was born,
Right, you're talking about your son.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Right, your younger
So when he
child.
was born, I basically stayed home and worked at home until he was old enough to go to school.
I see. So what made you decide to put your children in local schools so that they learn the Chinese language as well as English, I guess, the other languages?
Yes,
So,
yeah.
you want them to, you
Yeah,
were planning to stay here for good then. I mean, that you want them to master in the Chinese language. I guess
That
you also
was-
speak fluently, do
I
you?
know, I have to say, I'm very
Oh, shame,
poor.
shame.
I know. It's a lot to be ashamed of after saying it so many years. But yeah, it made sense to just get, familiar with the language, the culture. And I think coming from India, I know very well for a fact that if you don't learn the language of a place, then you don't really get the culture. It takes longer to
That is so true.
understand. So we thought, might as well get immersed in it right away. Doesn't matter how long we're planning to stay.
Oh, that is great. So they, because they started learning the language, the Chinese language at a very young age, they picked it up very quickly, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that is great. But when they have homework, when they have questions about their homework, who do they go to? How is your husband with his Chinese, though?
His Chinese is really good.
Really?
Yeah,
Like almost like
he's
a
got
local.
you know how they say some people have a year for languages.
Yes, I believe that thing.
I think it's true because I obviously don't. No, his Chinese is really good. So he picked it up in business. He didn't really study it, and he just picked it up. So, but he speaks about 7, 8 different languages. So,
Whoa.
He does have that year, which I don't.
Wow, that is great. That is great. So then, how was adjusting, your life to Taipei? Though you were saying earlier that it's very similar to Calcutta, but I'm sure there's a lot of culture difference. How did you deal with that?
I think it was. We were young, we were up for a discovery and adventure, so it was an adventure. Every weekend we'd drive out and discover new places and meet new people and travel the island whenever we could. I think it was really fun it was different, like I said, it was harder. There were no signs in English.
Oh, back then,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, so if you got lost, you got lost, There were
And
no
there were
MRTs,
right,
and there
there
was no email.
No, and there were no smartphones or
No
GPS.
smartphones, none of that. So it was a bit of an adventure.
But you managed without really. I mean, I'm sure you have basic Chinese knowledge of. Basic knowledge of Chinese language, so you could still get around even if you got lost.
Yes. And in the old days, people used maps.
Yes. So you carried around a tattered map around with you of Taipei City.
Something
I see.
like that. Oh,
Yeah.
the island. We traveled the whole island.
You probably traveled more places than I have in Taiwan, really. How about in the meantime, helping your children to adjust to life here? What was that like?
It was fairly easy, I think. The school, the preschool, and the kindergarten that both of them went to was extremely open, and I participated a lot as a parent, helped them out with a lot of activities. So it was quite radically different from the traditional style. And even for the primary school, the one that Mana went to, we chose one that was more open and allowed parent participation, actually welcomed it, which is quite unusual. So there are not many schools that really encourage that. So being who we were, I think we were looking for something that could adapt and be open to differences.
Oh, that is great.
And I think it worked out pretty well. Of course, there were some hitches, but you get over them. And my daughter went to the English school, the Taipei English school, TES, for the primary years. She didn't go to a Chinese public school.
Oh, okay.
But Manav did from the beginning, all through until middle school he finished. Yeah.
How was adjusting to food here in Taiwan? No trouble.
Great. It's fantastic food. Yeah.
If
the
it's
food is brilliant.
your diet, you could pretty much, find things
It's
easily.
a very balanced diet.
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and it's very nutritious and light, and I don't know what's not to like.
Stinky tofu included?
I kind of stay away from that one.
What about the rest of your family? Could they get used to stinky tofu?
I don't think any of them particularly like it.
Okay. Yes, it's a required taste.
It is.
Yes, it really is. What about the weather? How's the weather compared to Calcutta?
Pretty similar.
Similar, huh? Humid?
We're actually on the same latitude. And the only thing is that Taipei gets a little bit colder than Calcutta. Never gets that cold.
Yes, I think it's the humidity, the dampness that makes it
colder. We're pretty humid in
right?
Calcutta too.
Oh. Yeah.
But the temperature doesn't drop. I mean, you got mountains here. We don't. We're on the bay.
Yeah.
So it's different.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how often do you go back to India?
A couple of times a year at least.
Oh, a couple of times a year. Oh, that's good. You still have family over there, relatives and everything.
Sure.
Yeah. Did you ever convince them to come over to Taiwan?
Oh, my parents used to come every year.
Oh, wow.
They'd come and stay, and they've traveled the whole island many times over. So they've been visiting quite often. My in-laws have visited a couple of times, and other friends and family have come occasionally,
Oh. How much do you know about the population from India in Taiwan? I mean, are you in touch with them? And do you know how big of a population of people from India that are...
when I first came, there was a pretty large population.
Not anymore?
Not so much anymore.
Oh, why is that?
I'm not sure. I never really looked into it. I know there were a lot of people in business before when I first arrived. A lot of trading companies. And I guess, when things changed in Taiwan and it became more expensive and a lot of the factories moved to mainland China.
Yeah, that's a sticky issue.
Yeah, that's when they all kind of exited because it wasn't their business wasn't being supported here, basically.
Right.
So after that, I've noticed in the last 15 years, I've noticed more professionals coming in. Like, they'd be affiliated to a bank or a big corporation. So you get more people who are, not really business type people, but more corporate professionals. So it's a smaller number, basically.
Right. I think I understand that because of the time difference between India and here, that actually a lot of people are outsourcing their work, so that things that, I don't know, maybe it's like writing up a strategic plan or some kind of a computer program or something like that. Here, we send it over to India when it's just about the start of a new day, and they finish it while we're sleeping at night, and by the time we get up in the morning, they would have already finished the project and sent it over. So there's this whole, I don't know, how much you know about this, but apparently this is an advantage, I guess, to some enterprises.
For sure.
This kind of
but
outsourcing.
Actually, I think that applies more to the U.S. Rather than Taiwan, because Taiwan and India only have 2.5 hour difference. But yes, in the U.S., definitely it works like magic.
because we believe that people from India are smart people, very, great at business and everything. Yeah, we know that you guys are a smart group of people, so it's always great to be able to work together. It's despite being, on different parts of the world. So
I think a big advantage is also the fact that English is not a problem. I think that's one of the biggest perks, because you can talk to somebody who understands what needs to be done in the same language. It's kind of I think as far as Taiwan's concerned, that's been a little bit of a drawback, because not a lot of people communicate in English or use it as a professional language so much. So I think it's easier to deal with India for other countries as long as English is the common language.
That is right. Well, Taiwanese people need to improve more in their English. I mean, so much that Taiwan wants to be globalized and all that kind of stuff. But I think English is a thing, sort of like a starting point to, gradually working towards globalization for Taiwan.
For sure, and I think that's one of the big advantages, or I wouldn't say advantage, I think that's one of the big perks that you get out of being part of the Red Room community, because it's a very, as I mentioned to you earlier, it's a very non-judgmental space. So people can come and try to communicate with others in English, and it's very casual. It's not threatening, and you get to meet international crowd, and it's easier to mingle, and you don't feel so self-conscious doing it.
That is right.
So I think that's been one of the big things that I've noticed, and I know Chuping is very. He speaks about it a lot at every Red Room, and he encourages the younger generation to be bold and come to the Red Room and mingle and meet others and speak in English and practice. And he thinks it's a really good way to develop that skill.
Sure. Well, now that you mentioned about Red Room, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but we're going to take a break before we continue. Okay?
Okay, thank you.